Hey, hope everybody's having a good day. Sorry, I kind of been putting this off. Been playing a game with my nephew, but today it was like, I was like, no, I have to have discipline, right? So I want to talk about America, right? So when I was just looking at the word just in itself, of course, I like to break words down. So, okay, of course, A will be like of or the. Mer. I was like, guess what got me over here now. So mer is water, mermaid, merman, merboy. So I'm like a mermaid and a merman. Of course, they had a child. It could have been a mer girl, but I put like merboy and then like water boy because of the water. Boom. And then water boy got me thinking about like, oh, okay, a water barrier or water carrier, Aquarius. So I'm like, okay, cool. So then going back to mer, okay, I said it's water. And then water, as we know, or coming to understand that water is the womb. And the womb is the source of life, of all life. I'm not going to say all life because everybody didn't come from the womb. And but like it is the source of life, is the womb. And then thinking about the womb and then the water again got me to thinking about that movie Avatar, Out of the Water. And I'm like, that's exactly who we are. Our avatars out of the water. We were born in the womb, so that means we were at a time, submerged in water. And I kept asking myself, like, why don't we live in water? And then it started to make me think, like, is this why, talking to dolphins is illegal? Because, oh my, it's just so much. Because, the little dolphins, little blowhole at the top, and then we got the soft spot on our head as well, like in infancy, the little soft spot on the top of the head. The dolphins have that same one. So I'm like, did that come from just being in the water for so long? Because you know how when you're in water for so long, I just got the shower, you get like wrinkles and stuff. And it softened the skull or just softened the head. So it's just me thinking, but I'm like, but we are the avatars out of water, boom. And then our body is made up of what, 70% of water? So we are water too. We're bodies of water. And we came through this earth through a body of water. And then I just listed here some examples of bodies of water. Boom, boom, boom. So I'm like, okay. So then going back to the word America, so I broke down mer is water. Then I was curious about this ICA. So I'm like, where did that come from, right? So when I started just thinking of, I looked it up on Google and like some other stuff, but I was on the internet, boom. So when I got ICA, it said that it's feminine or neutral. So of course that feminine got my attention. So I'm like, because water, it is neutral. It doesn't sway each side. It contains both. Boom. So I'm like, okay, water's neutral. And then I'm like, okay, so ICA is also said that it's added to the roots. That word caught my attention. So I'm like, okay, feminine, roots, boom. But it's added to the roots to create a noun. And then I explained in a previous video that we are nouns or spirit. Person, place, or thing, right? Boom. So then another one for ICA is that it's used to indicate a relationship, a specific subject, or a quality. So I'm thinking now, so a relationship to indicate a relationship or a specific subject or quality to water. So I'm like, okay, the body of water. Boom. So then I still looking up the ICA. This is what I got. These are all like businesses and institutes. So the first one was the independent component analysis, which is a computational. That came out too fast. I'm not even gonna try to say that one again. But if you can see that, computational. Okay, I see computer in there. Boom. All right, whatever. But it's a method separating mixed signals. So this got my attention because it separates mixed signals. Because the mixed signals I'm thinking about now is land and water. Because we live on land, but we came out of the water, out of the womb, right? Boom. But this is just the other ones that they listed here. They're all online. They were all listed together too. But What we got. But yeah, that's just those, but I just didn't want to leave nothing out. But this one, the first one, that's caught my attention. And then this is just a little side thought down here, because I'm like, okay, the sun walked across the water. But then this is also too because they changed sun into sun. So they took you, or took us, out of the sun or out of the water and gave us this O. So O replaced you. But this is just me thinking, this is my wild thinkings, right? So I'm like, okay. And then like the sun and the water, so I'm like, okay, how can we represent our body, represent the sun and the water as well? Then I'm like, okay, not just the sun, the moon reflects on the water too. So I'm like, how? Then it got me to the eyes. Right? Just something that's opening and closing our eyes. So when our eyes are closed and we open them, that's just like another way of seeing like the sunset or the sunrise when you open your eyes, and then sunset when you're closing them. So I'm like, that little place in between where, you know, your vision's kind of blurry, your eyes aren't open, or they're not all the way closed and not all the way open. It's just that little bitty, you know, space between your eyelids. I'm like, okay, that can be looked at as an eclipse too. And you know, our eyes, they are, or you know, they're the carriers of water. They're the water barriers, is our eyes. That's what I was just getting at with that. And then I'm like, well, then our third eye will be all that both eyes are. So that'll make it the overseer or the observer, to see the all of what the left and the right eye see. But it sees it at the same time, because you could close one eye and then see, you know, stuff like that. But that's just the way I'm going. And then, let's see. Excuse me. That was just a nasty little something. But then still with America in mind, I'm thinking about the American flag now and the colors that's on it and what it represents. I did a video a while back with just the flag, so I'm not gonna go too much into repeating what I said with that, because I compared the flag to like the red blood cells and the blue blood cells, and you know how the bone marrow is the production of the white blood cells, and and that's all happens at the base of the bone, base of the spine in your bone marrow. Boom. So that's just what I was getting at with this. But then, of course, putting out the colors, so I'm like red, white, and blue. Red for the root chakra, white for the solar chakra, and then blue for the throat chakra. So I'm like, okay, you know, blue throat to speak, soul star just is, and then root started from the bottom. Now we here. And then since like today I woke up, and then like these 3 nursery rhymes, and then it's so crazy to me. Well, I'm not gonna say crazy, but just more confirmation that this was all tying in, but I didn't know this until like an hour ago. They put this together. But I was singing these nursery rhymes, Little Red Riding Hood. Well, not so much singing them, just, you know, repeating them. Little Red Riding Hood, Mary had a little lamb, and then Little Boy Blue. So now I was like, oh, red, white, and blue. Because, you know, Mary had a little lamb whose fleece was white as snow. Red, Little Red Riding Hood, the red, and then Little Boy Blue, go blow your horn. So then, boom. So then looking at the root with just the red now, I'm like, okay. So this fable, nursery rhyme, whatever you want to call it, it was pretty much about, you know, wolves in sheep clothing, warning young girls, but I'm not going to just say just girls, or just warning young children of older predators, or predatory people, and that the wolf consumed her innocence. And then that happened to a lot of us growing up around the same age that Little Red Riding Hood was. Like, there isn't a specific age, so like just looking from like the stories and the books that I've read, I even tried looking at it up online as well. Couldn't find a definite answer, but she was a child between like 7 and 12 to be able to walk by herself, because like, you know, just whatever. But she was walking by herself, and her innocence got consumed by someone pretending to be someone that they were not, right? And I'm like, that happened to a lot of us. That was, you know, trauma, where our innocence get consumed, and then it causes, you know, shatters our nervous system, and then it just, our nervous system is, you know, going from there, trying to rewire itself and regulate itself and things like that. So I'm just like, okay, so that was just like a warning story to me, right? So for little kids in America or little kids here, because, you know, there are predators around and, you know, things like that. So boom, the white now, going to the soul star chakra. Mary had a little lamb. So I'm like, there wasn't anything like me just, I said it a couple of times, like, you know, did the Sister Act 2 rap, Mary had a little lamb. I mean, I didn't pull any darkness out of Mary had a little lamb as I did with this. So I'm like, okay, so I started just thinking about just what that story really meant. The lamb following her to school every day, that was an act of loyalty. And then as a kid, innocence. And then just the love. Always wanted to be around her. So I'm like, okay. Then you can understand why it says, like, you know, lambs are precious and, you know, things like that. So I'm like, that's just where I pulled out and Mary had a little lamb. So I'm like, okay, even going back to white being neutral, right? Or I don't know. I don't want to put neutral there. I'm going to just leave that because then it's probably going to start me on something else. But boom. Then go looking over to the blue. Little boy blue, go blow your horn. So what I pull from that is that an idle mind or letting your guards down when the soul guards, when your soul guard is down, there is no like defense or protection because there is no awareness when your soul is asleep, right? So anything can happen. So I'm like, okay, he just pretty much let his guard down, and then the sheep went in the meadow and the cows went in the corn. And it was just something like, you know, it was just an innocent act. He fell asleep, but falling asleep or just temporarily just letting your guards down, it just takes a snap. Anything can get in there, right? So then I was just like, wow, okay, boom. Then moving down, I got any, mini, miny, mo. Okay, so I'm like, any, mini, money, mo, catch a tiger by his toe. Then I'm like, why are you catching a tiger by his toe? If it hollers, let it go. And then, like, I don't know. I grew up singing, like, catch a fellow by his toe. And, like, to me, that story kind of went into, like, slavery or something like that, you know. But that's just me playing around in my head. But then just me, I just narrowed it down because I'm just looking at all of these nursery rhymes now. And then that one automatically popped in my head. I'm like, okay, so that's just like multiple choices just to narrowing down to one pick. And then got me thinking about now, back to this independent component analysis where it's the method for separating mixed signals. So I'm like, okay, so we're land, water, beings. So like, what else lives on the land? What else lives in the water? So this is too why I keep, like, you know, I'm going to keep repeating to you all to talk to the water. And then, you know, if you can't get by a body of water, a cup of water, a bowl of water would do. Yourself would do. If you can formulate some tears in your eyes, even better. If you can, you know, work up some sweat, that's still a form of water. Like, but there's like, and I tell you too, like water, it does hold memory, but I don't want this to be a too long video, but I did just want to point that out, just a little connection that I made with America. And, you know, the root, soul star, and throat chakra. And I'm like, man, and when I got to the throat chakra, I'm like, if only little boy Blue, you know, he could have blown his horn. But I'm like, in a way, too, that can, you know, show like, you know, not being able to use your voice. I don't want to go into that, but so much like, not so much silence, but, you know, unable to blow the horn to, you know, the alertness. But I don't want to go too far into that, but I just wanted to show that. And I hope everybody have a great day. Love you all. Ashe. And then I don't know who needs to hear this, but keep your head up. Things are gonna get easier.